there. Come on. There we go. We're ready to go. All right. Let me get my music up. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. Friday night and it's all right. How you doing, Lamar? How you doing, Lamar?
All right.
What's going
Go,
on,
Lamar. Hey.
Good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome to our live Friday night show with Music Lovers Ltd. Gang, how you guys doing? Everybody good?
Yes.
Good.
Well, maybe you didn't hear me. Let me start over. I said, gang, how you doing? Everybody good?
Yeah.
Before we get started, happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers, male and female. Give yourselves a nice round of applause.
Yes.
All right.
I'll give him applause. Yay.
Ladies and gentlemen out there in TV land and the land viewing us, we'd like to welcome you to another version of Music Lovers Ltd. live on a Friday night. Tonight, our guest is the wife on one of the legendary Golden Boys. Now, if you're from the South Philadelphia area or Philadelphia area, not necessarily, and I'm changing that as I'm thinking. A lot of people knew of the Golden Boys. We're talking Frankie Avalon, Bobby Rydell, and Linda. Who's the other one? I forgot.
Fabian.
Fabian. These were the guys who were with Annette Funicello on the beach movies, and back in the day when we were coming up, this is the stuff that we were exposed to. So we're talking about one of the legendary performers, especially from South Philadelphia, because all of South Philadelphia, where Chubby Checker came from, who just got inducted into the Hall of Fame, which is a wonderful thing. But where these guys came from, and also what I want to say before I start with Linda, is that Bobby was one of the ones from Cameo Parkway, that label where the Times came from, where Charlie Gracie came from, where the Delphonics came from, where the Five Stair Steps came from. All of those folks were from that very first label long before Philadelphia International. So these were the people that sort of held that record label together until Philadelphia International came out in the 70s. Give Miss Linda Rydell a nice round of applause, and I'd like to say welcome to you.
I'm glad to be here.
How are you, dear? How you doing?
I'm doing good. This is going to be interesting.
To have you here. Listen, now we talked a little bit during the week, and again, thank you for accepting our invitation and joining us here. We talked a little bit about you married Bobby toward the end of his career. Am I correct on saying that?
We got married in January 2009. He was 66. So he had many years under his belt before I came along.
Yes. A lot of roads to travel at that point. But let me ask you, when you met him, I tell you what, why don't you tell us in your words how that happened, how you met him and how you guys got to dating?
When I got divorced, I moved into my apartment, and the first phone call that came through was a lady that asked me, I want to order the latest cassette. And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And she said, well, aren't you the president of the Bobby Rydell fan club? And I said, no, I'm not. Isn't he dead? And she went, oh my God, no, he's not dead. And she goes, that's Bobby Darin. And I said, oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, he's alive, but I'm not the president of the fan club. Come to find out that the name of the president was Linda Hoffman. Her name, she was young at 14. She was Linda Farino. And when she got married, she married a Hoffman. No relation to me. They're both from Philadelphia. So when people, this is before the internet, when people are looking up the exchange, the phone exchange, she didn't live far from me. And I was listed as Linda Hoffman. So that's what they kept calling me. I mean, this went on for years. It wasn't all the time, but if they wanted to talk in person, there was no internet. They had to write a letter. So I guess they figured, I'll call. So I knew who he was. I didn't know much about him, but I thought, and then my friends would laugh and say, get any more phone calls with that you're president of his fan club? I'd say, no, not that many this month. So this went on for 24 years.
Wow.
And the way I finally met him, I stopped at a Bath and Body Works on my way home from Hahnemann Hospital. I had been working, and a girl that was working in there, young girl, She was by herself. It was pouring rain. I thought, I've got to use this coupon before it expires, so I'm going to stop. We started talking, and I knew a lot of parents of kids she went to high school with. And we went to the same GP and the same doctor, a dentist, and all this other stuff. And I said, boy, you want to hear a really funny story? And I told her my story about the other Linda Hoffman, about the fan club, and how we went to the same doctor, dentist, gynecologist, where they were getting our charts commingled. It was like, I'd always say Linda J, and she's older than me.
Okay.
So this young man says, I know one of his friends, and we're going out to dinner tomorrow night. I'm going to tell him about you. And I said, well, he may know about me because I've met his mother and I've met his fan club president because they came in as patients to the office I worked.
Okay.
I don't know whether he found out about it. So she goes to dinner and she says, I met a girl. Now, at this point, his wife had died in 2003. So this is 2007. And they were always trying to fix him up with people. So she said, I met a girl I think you'd really like. He said, well, tell me about her. She said, well, she worked in medicine, this, that, the other thing. And he said, well, what's her name? And she said, Linda Hoffman. And he said, she didn't tell him medicine. She just said, I met her in the store. He said, wait a minute. That's my fan club president. She said, no. This is the other Linda Hoffman. That she knows your mother and she knows your fan club president, but you don't know her. Okay. And she gave me her. That was on a Wednesday, and he called me the next day, Thursday.
Wow. I'm gonna back out, Linda, because everybody here, look at they right up on the screen. They got some questions that they want to ask you. So we'll take some time. You guys, Andrew, go ahead on and start off if you would, Drew.
Hey, Miss Linda Rydell, thank you so much for joining us. A lot of interesting stories that's come out. How close was your husband to Jerry Bladden? Because it is my understanding that they were close, and I guess Jerry helped him set up some shows or whatever, became a promoter.
Well, I don't know about when they were younger. I know they knew each other when they were younger, when Jerry did Bandstand. Because Bobby, because he lived local, if there was a guest on Bandstand, if they didn't show, Dick Clark could call Bobby. If he was in town, he'd come down to the studio on Market Street.
Right.
Now, through the years, Bobby was doing his thing. Jerry was doing his thing. They got closer in later years. And we'd go out to dinner with Jerry, or they'd talk to each other on the phone. Bobby'd say, hey, Geets. He'd call him Geets. Hey, Geets, what's going on? And they'd call each other back and forth. And Jerry always called my number looking for Bobby. I'd say, Jerry, it's my number. Here's Bobby's number. Because, we each have our cell phones now. But they were pretty tough. Yeah. And they died Bobby died in April, Jerry died in January.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. They passed away around the same time.
Yeah.
I talked to Jerry 4 days before he died. I called him and I said, how are you doing? I talked to Jerry 4 days before he died. I called him and he was in the hospital. And when he told me what was going on, I knew when he told me that that it wasn't good.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, they were pretty tight. They knew each other for years.
Okay. On his radio show, he always spoke highly of your husband. That's why I was brought up.
Last time I saw him was at Bobby's memorial service.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good question, Drew. Good question.
I mean, you would have never known he was sick, but that's the way it is.
Yeah.
Here one day, on the next.
Good question, Drew. Restful Spirit, come on in.
Yes, hi, Linda. I'm Restful. First, I would like to say it can be incredibly difficult, and I really appreciate you sharing the life of your late husband, Bobby Randall, and yourself with us. What I would like to know is, what was Bobby like behind the scenes? Are there any memorable stories that you would like to share?
He was very low key. You know how some performers, entertainers, celebrities, whatever you want to call them, they always have to be seen. They got to be on the scene. If we went somewhere, Bobby would spend more time talking to the bartender or the waiter, or he didn't mingle with the other celebrities. He mingled with the real people, the average people. I'd say, well, Bobby, we should do this. He goes, what? Is it a career changer at this point in my life? It's not going to change my career. And I'd say, okay, what do I know? I did medicine. I didn't do music. But he was real low key. He was not at all. He was helping. He was at a restaurant one day for lunch, and I heard this story from somebody else. I was not there. And there was a lady having a hard time getting out of her car. She had a walker, and Bobby was leaving, but he went over and he helped her in and got her situated in the restaurant. And after she sat down, the owner came over and said, "You know who that was that just helped you?" And she said, "I don't know, some nice guy with a baseball hat." He said, "That was Bobby Rydell." She was like, "What?"
Wow.
He never said, he didn't pull the Bobby Rydell card, Do you know who I am? He wasn't like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Great.
Good question, Russell. Come on in, Lamar.
People come.
Good evening and welcome. And let me wish you first a happy Mother's Day.
Well, I never did that adventure, but thanks anyway. I've got pets.
Okay. Okay, so
Oh my God.
did he ever do any shows with Murray the K?
I'm sure he must have. I mean, that would have been BMT before my time. I guess he probably did. I don't know, because not when in my life, like with him, not since 2009. That's all I can say. But I'm sure he did when he was younger. They were all over the place. All of them were all over the place.
Okay.
He did, Lamar. I can answer that. He did, Lamar. But she's talking about Linda's talking about the time that she had, from their inception, going forward. Good question, though. Good question. Dee, come on in, babe.
Good evening, Linda. Now, I had the opportunity to meet him years ago, okay?
You know what? I knew she was going to say that. I knew she was going to say it.
Wildwood and Atlantic City, because I spent time in Wildwood in the summer, and my godmother was in Atlantic City. So we saw him, we met him, he talked to us. We were like, God, my age, 13 years old then.
And how did he treat you? Didn't he treat you like a normal person and nice and everything?
We would sneak into the Steel Pier and down there. So we met him, and afterwards they come out. We talked to him. We met a lot of people like that. But he was really nice. He sat and talked to us, which I thought was nice.
He was like that until the day he died. He never got full of himself.
Yeah.
And when he did, after we got married, he wasn't demanding, but I'd say, look, it's just the two of us in the house here. It's you and me and the two dogs and the cat. I'm not the maid. All I want you to do is put your clothes on the washer. You don't have to put them in the washer. Just put them on top of the washer. Oh, okay. And if you do something in the sink, if you make something to eat, just run some water on the plates so I don't have to chip cement off. I'll do the dishwasher. And he was like, okay, fine. And then if he got a little kind of cocky, I'd say, listen, you may be a star on the road, but here you're my husband and it's only the two of us. So knock it off. And he'd be like, I said, you're not the star in the house. I am.
All right.
All right. Good question, Dee. If there's any of us that was going to say that they saw him or met him, Dee was going to be the one. I'm telling you right now, she had to be the one. Come on in, Professor.
I'm old. That's why.
How you doing? How you doing, Miss Linda? My name is Sharon. They call me Professor.
Okay.
When you met him, did he obviously didn't have the cocky attitude, but
No.
how did he propose?
To marry, when we got married?
Yeah. Yes.
He first he said, well, let's live together. I said, no, I'm not living with anybody. We can date forever. I mean, what, are we going to start a family? I'm 55. I said, there's no reason to get married, but I'm not living with you. And then he said, well, I want you to live with me. I said, well, I'm not telling you this because I want you to marry me. I'm just telling you, I'm not living with anybody. We can date for the next whatever years. And then he shut up. And then about maybe 2 weeks later, he had stayed at my house and he said, we're going to get a ring. I said, for what? And he said, because I want to marry you and I want to get married and we're going to get a ring. I said, okay.
Wow. Wow. He
I mean, it
twisted
wasn't
your
like
arm real
all
hard,
really
didn't he?
romantic or anything. And the day we went for the ring, I dropped something in my car and I had to reach like under the dashboard and I ripped the whole top of my left hand, was all bloody and bleeding. Oh, wow. When I'm in the jewelry store, we're trying rings on and there's blood and scabs at this point. That I did that morning and then we went that afternoon to get the ring.
Wow. Did you go down on Jewelers Row?
No, we went to a jewelry store in Drescher, PA, because it was near my house.
Okay. Surprisingly,
he didn't like to go downtown anyway. He only liked to go to South Philly to restaurants. That was it.
Gotcha.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, my one time meeting him was with the Golden Boy situation, and I know at that point my hairline was receding all the way back to my shoulders. So I had asked him, could I borrow his hair? And he said, yeah, Ollie, anytime you need it, just give me a holler. We never got a chance to use it, but there you go.
I have a funny story about his hair. When we got married and I was like moving in and bringing my clothes and I had to make space for myself, there were all these boxes in this closet. There was a shelf and there were all these boxes. And I started opening the boxes and the hair pieces, they were like this. Then they, as the balding proceeded, they had to get bigger. I said, what are you keeping all these for? You can't use these. Oh, you can throw these away. And I said, I have an idea. I'm going to throw them around the front yard. People will think you have pet rabbits.
Linda, share with us the first time that you realized that he was balding or a hair thing. Share that with us, would you?
Well, when our first date, I said to him, I'm going home because I rode with somebody else to the restaurant. I said, I'm going home. I'm going to get out of my uniform, my scrubs, and put on my clothes, regular clothes. He said, oh, don't worry about it. I wear a hat. And I'm thinking, what the hell does that have to do with anything? But it didn't make sense to me, but I didn't question it. So I get to the restaurant and he's got a hat on. I didn't think anything, but a lot of guys wear baseball hats and they have hair. So, and then we went out to dinner and he had hair. And then we did something on a Saturday afternoon. He had the hat on. And then we went out to dinner. He had the hair. So, what are you going to say? What's under that hat? I mean, you don't ask. So this was the first night he was going to stay at my house. I don't know, maybe 6 weeks into the relationship. And I had finished cooking dinner. I'm at the sink and he went in the bathroom. He leans around the doorway of the kitchen and he goes, I hope you like a guy with a little less hair. What the heck? You know what? I didn't know what to say. All of a sudden he's bald. I mean, he's a horseshoe head. And so I was like quiet for a second and I went, shh, shh. And he said, what's the matter? And I said, we can't let that other guy know you're here. What guy? I was there.
Oh, man. Oh, you got me in stitches.
What do you say? I mean, now, you guys, if some woman did that to you, what would you say if she whipped off her hair? Now, I know that people wear wigs, but they have hair. They don't have a bald head. What if a woman, she takes her wig off and she's got hair, but what if she was totally bald? What would you say?
That would be a surprise. That would probably be a surprise. You don't know what to say.
I mean, what am I going to say? I was stunned. I was absolutely blown away.
That would be a surprise. That would definitely.
Boy.
You know what, Lamar, Drew, and we're gonna have to ponder that question to get back to you on that.
Oh man,
that was funny. That was Drew. Come on in. Let's hear another question.
I said the other guy's Bobby, right? You're Bobo. So my nickname for him was Bobo
because he was bald.
Bobo.
Like Bobo the cop.
Oh,
Drew, come on in, Drew. You got something?
Oh God.
Yeah. This right there. I guess you get it out, man. These are some funny stories. Miss Rydell, did Bobby ever talk to you about the early part of his career when he was in movies, TVs? Did he ever mention what were the highlights of his career? Or some of the not so highlights? Did he ever confide to you in that?
I could not a lot because we didn't talk about the olden days, but I remember he was in a band. This is when he was still in high school. He was in a band with Pat Martino, you know, the jazz guitarist.
Yeah.
His real
Yes.
name was Pat Azara, and he was in the band with
Yeah.
Pat Azara, who became Pat Martino, and Joe Lano, who was a guitar player who was big in Vegas. And there was Bobby,
Okay.
and Bobby was always going to Cameo Parkway and cutting demos. I mean, his first record that he cut and that they took to Dick Clark, it was called Fatty Fatty Boombalatti. Well, can you imagine why that wasn't a hit? Anyway, so
Yeah.
Dick
Yes.
could say, no, that's not going to make it. That's not going to make it. So in this band, Bobby would be late for rehearsal in the basement. You know, they'd go to somebody's house and they were going to throw him out of the band that day. And he was late, of course, and he came walking down the steps. And before they got to throw him out, he said, I'm sorry, guys, I have to leave the band. I've been invited to join Dick Clark's Caravan of Stars, because that's when he had Kiss It to Kiss It Time was going to come out. And that was real upbeat, you know, and that was a gold record. But he was telling when he would ride the bus with Dick Clark, you know, he was about this big. I mean, he was a skinny little thing. And they used to, there was Clyde McFadder. He was part of, what group was he part of? Some group.
Was it the Platinum?
Drifters. Clyde McFadden was with the
Drifters.
Drifters. So there were groups and single people, and they made Bobby sleep up in the luggage rack, you know, because he could fit. And there was another girl, I don't remember her name. She was older than Bobby. Laverne Baker.
Laverne Baker.
She was on the tour bus, and she used to play poker all the time with the guys. But she also would hook up a shower curtain around her seat so she could have some privacy.
Okay.
Because, you know, it was like a tour bus. I mean, you couldn't get away from anybody.
Right.
And he told some funny. He was rooming with Freddie Cannon, where I don't know where
Freddie
they were.
Boom
Freddie Boom Boom, and he said to Freddie, "If you wake up before I do, wake me up to get to the bus." So Bobby wakes up. Freddie's not in the room, and he's thinking, "What the hell? You know, where is it?" He races downstairs. They left him. The guy, I forget the guy who drove the bus, but he said, "If you're not downstairs, we leave." So now here's Bobby at the hotel. They're gone. Paul Anka was also on the tour, but he was riding not on the bus because he had more hits at this point. Anka got a plane and flew Bobby from that spot to wherever the next spot was.
Wow. Great story.
Great story.
Great story.
And then he said that when he got to the next stop, he said to Freddie Cannon, "What the hell's wrong with you? Why didn't you wake me up? I mean, all this problem." And Freddie said, "Oh, you look so peaceful sleeping. I didn't want to wake you up." Bobby was like, "You son of a bitch. What the hell's the matter with you?"
Good story. Great story. Come on in, Russell.
Yes. What was Bobby like away from the stage? Did he have any surprising hobbies or interests?
Well, he used to be an avid golfer, BMT, before my time. When I got him, he was not physically. He golfed a few times. No, he was so into music. He didn't really have you mean putting model airplanes together or some sort of hobby? No, he didn't. Sports. That's all he did. He watched sports or talked about music. I mean, the Eagles, the Flyers, the Sixers, the Phillies. I mean, our rec room was like a shrine to the sports world. He wanted a man cave for sports. I made it a man cave for sports. It was Eagles gray with black trim and Eagles green. The couch was green, Eagles green, of course. We had Eagles lamps. We had an Eagles coffee table that I had a girl paint. You know, it was a miniature version of the field with the yard lines and everything. I mean, that's what he did for sports. And he really didn't like to talk. Like if he would go out for lunch, there's no celebrity. He didn't hang around with celebrities. He'd go to the restaurant and talk to whoever was there. He'd talk sports. It could have been the janitor it could have been the garbage man picking up the garbage. He would talk sports. He didn't
Cool.
care as long as they talk sport.
That's
Oh, okay.
that's a real regular person. Good question there, Russell. Come on in, Lamar.
When he would come home, when Bobby would come home, what would he want you to fix him to eat? What was one of his favorite foods?
Oh, good question. Good
Well,
question.
I never tried to cook Italian. I'm not Italian. His grandmother taught his first wife how to cook, so I wasn't competing with that. I have a couple dishes that I would make, and he really loved my pot roast because I make a spicy pot roast with Creole seasoning. I took my mother's and I blew it up, and he liked this pork chop dish that I made. In fact, we actually made it on a cruise, and they served it in the dining room. It was on the menu.
Oh,
that night.
wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Because he'd say, "I really want you to make your mustard and garlic and pork chops." I'd say, "Okay," and then he'd say, "Make a pot roast," and he liked the vegetables after it's soaked in the juice. And he said, "Put in lots of carrots and potatoes because I like those better than the meat." So I would go to get some leftovers, and I'd say, where did all the potatoes go and the carrots?" He said, "I ate them for lunch." And he'd go and make a dish. So I would make a pot roast. There was only two of us, but I would get the biggest pot roast I could because I wanted to have leftovers. It would take me like 6 hours to make this thing, but that was his favorite dish. He really liked Italian, but he knew I wasn't going to cook Italian because I knew he wouldn't like it. I don't know anything about Italian.
Good question, Mar. Good question, Mark. Good question, Linda. I'm going to call you for that pot roast recipe.
Oh,
I'd like to maybe do a little something with it, and also
It's
those
delicious.
mustard pork chops. I'm going to call you for that.
Even did it. I did a bear roast, a black bear roast, but I did it like I did my pot roast.
Okay,
So it took me for hours. So the
come on
bear
in,
roast.
Professor.
Okay. Apparently, I've read that in 2018 there was a film called The Green Book that won an Oscar.
Correct.
And that Bobby was portrayed by an actor named Von Lewis.
Correct.
Did he see that movie?
Oh, we met Von.
Okay.
In fact,
Oh,
how
wow.
did he feel? How did he feel
guy
about Von portraying him?
Oh yeah, we met Von at a casino in Atlantic City when they were making that movie. The guy whose story that was, the driver that drove I think he was a professor, a music professor.
Mm-hmm.
The driver that drove him around, his son, I forget what his stage name was, but his real name was Vallelonga, and his son is the one that did that whole movie, Nick Vallelonga. And Nick called Bobby. They were going to not put Bobby in as himself, but they wanted Bobby to be in that opening scene where Von portrays Bobby. But they were going to put Bobby either in the audience or make him a waiter or something just to be in the movie. But Bobby was already committed to a couple concerts when they were filming this in, I think it was New Orleans, and he couldn't do it. So fast forward, and the movie came out and everything. And then he had Black Magic had a new chart written for that, and he put it in his show because Von does it in the movie. And Von was performing at the Ocean Club in Atlantic City. Yeah, Atlantic City. That it was casino at the time. And there was a bunch of people, and Von was there. So and Bobby was on the show also. So we met Von and his wife, and Von has since opened a bar restaurant in New Bern, North Carolina. And he still does stuff. He still does, he's still trying to get acting gigs and stuff. But he and his wife are both singers, but he's a real nice guy.
Wonderful.
But yeah, we did meet him. And I said, the only thing you didn't get right was the hair wasn't right. And he said, I know. He said, I grew my hair longer to get that thing that they did, that, what do you call it, ducktail or whatever it was called. And he said, when they were getting him ready for the movie, they didn't style his hair the way Bobby's hair was styled at that time.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I mean, he was ready to do it, but whoever the powers that be, they changed it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
he's a real nice guy.
Good question, Professor. Dee, you got something for us?
Now I read that he had 34 records on the top 100s, and he was one of the 5 artists that 5 artists that 5 top artists in the world at that time.
I guess. I mean, if you read it, it's probably true. I don't know. But I mean, I know that he had a lot of hits because, you know, when he never kept, like, you know, some people would keep a chronological order of their career.
Yeah.
He could have cared less about that. So I mean, I'm still going through papers. I don't know what year things are. I have to go on what he looks like. And I could be off by, I try to go by the hair because obviously when it started to diminish, I knew it was later in life. But he never kept a chronological listing of, if I want to know stuff, I have to go on the internet. I don't know.
Okay.
But he did have a lot of hits, a lot of records.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a lot as a singular performer, and then he had a couple of more when they were the Golden Boys traveling around doing that thing. Linda, share with us.
They never made a record. The Golden Boys
No,
never made a record.
just
They
moving
did
around.
shows.
Right, yeah,
Sure.
just moving around together. Yeah, just moving around. Linda, share with us, if you would, one of your special moments without the hair or with the hair, it doesn't matter. Share with us a special moment with Bobby that you will always cherish and always remember.
Oh God, there were so many. I guess it was basically when he was getting ready for the transplants. The phone call came in, and I knew the number, so I thought, "Oh God, this is it." I knew he was listed, and the phone call came in, and the girl's talking to me, and he's looking at me, and I'm going like, "This is it." You know, this you're gonna go. And she said, "Well, I have to talk to him." And when he got off the phone, he said, "Listen, if I don't make it," I said, "You're gonna make it. Don't worry." I said, "Let's go." So we got him to Jefferson. And he was supposed to do a cruise now that was July. He was supposed to do a cruise in November for the Malt Shop Memories cruise where they have all the performers.
Yeah.
Now he's getting ready to go to the OR and we're waiting for the pre-op chest x-ray to come back. And he's on the stretcher and I'm standing there. And he looks at me, he goes, "I'm going to make that cruise." I said, "Can we just get through the surgery? Forget the damn cruise. Let's just get through the surgery." He said, "I'm going to make that cruise." I said, "Okay." He did. He didn't perform. They got Chubby to take Bobby's place because they didn't know whether he was going to live or die. And I remember thinking to myself, I mean, he was in the hospital. I can't even tell you. I could have you on here 2 hours telling you his medical adventures. But he never, ever was, "Oh my God, I'm not going to make it." I mean, he was always upbeat, always upbeat. He was back on stage in 6 months after the transplant, liver kidney, double transplant, 3 days solo in Vegas. And then 8 months later, he had open chest heart surgery. He was already back on the road. And he came home and he said to me, "I'm having some jaw pain." Well, I worked in cardiology all my life. And I thought, "Oh my God, here we go." Called the doctor I worked with. He went in, they did the test. And he said, "Bobby, you're going to be admitted." And Bobby said, "What do you mean I'm going to be admitted? I've got to be in Biloxi tomorrow." He said, "You're not going to Biloxi. You're coming into Jefferson." So, and he was back on stage in 6 weeks.
Okay.
After the injury. I mean, so it was every time we went through something, and I never let him know if I was worried. I always played it real calm, cool. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. I came home one day and he'd fallen down the steps and I heard him out. I came in the garage. I hear, Linda, I'm screwed. I'm thinking, what happened now? And I opened the door. And he's on the floor. He said, "I think I broke my leg." And I had groceries. And I looked at it. I said, "Yep, you did. Give me 15 minutes.
Wow.
Put the groceries away." I had to call the ambulance. He never was depressed. Never. He was always upbeat. Always upbeat. And so I would say that his attitude after all his medical adventures, that's what I call the medical adventure.
Okay. Wonderful story. Wonderful story. I'm
He
so
was
sure.
never like, "Oh, poor me. Oh my God, what am I going to do?" He was never like that.
Right. I'm gonna move on to somebody else, but I am so sure that your attitude and your background being in medicine and the attitude that you portrayed to him certainly helped him in spots where if there was a question, he pushed forward.
If I let him know I was upset,
right.
not knowing anything would have made him upset. So I always played it. Don't worry. Be fine. We'll take care of
Right.
it.
Right.
Even though in my mind I'm thinking, oh my God, this could go south, whatever, this, that, the other. But I never said
Right.
a word.
Right.
Except one
Right.
time he had a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. Wakes me up in the middle of the night. And I'm like, what? He goes, I have a nosebleed. I said, well, put some cotton up your nose. He said, it's been going on for an hour and a half. And then I wake up. I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't get
Okay.
it to stop. It turned out I had to take him to Norristown Suburban General. They transferred him to Jefferson. He ended up being there a week. He had to have surgery. I picked him up. We get home. He gets in bed. And I take a shower. I come out. And he's crying. I said, what the hell's wrong with you? And he said, I am so sick. I said, sick of this and that. I said, a nosebleed after all you've been through, and the nosebleed pushes you over the edge. Get yourself together.
Right. Right.
That was the only
Right.
time.
Right. But I'm so sure that a culmination of all of this back and forth, so it's sort of I would
He's had
imagine
enough.
that it would wear on you, being
Oh,
in the
yeah.
position that he was in. Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine.
But he
Okay,
was
Lamar,
always,
come on in, bro.
gotta get back on stage. Gotta get back on stage.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I heard you said that he had a liver and kidney transplant, and I had the same thing in 2012.
So
I
did
had
he.
one.
His was 2012.
Oh, okay. That's when I had mine, and I just thank God that I'm still here, But what funny incident can you remember having? Did y'all go go shopping together, like to the grocery store?
Are you kidding? No.
Okay.
No. He did not go to the grocery store. He didn't go, I didn't want him shopping with me, and he didn't want, I would go with him to get clothes, like stage. But other than that, no, he was not a shopper. He didn't know one ingredient from another. He wouldn't know cayenne pepper from it. Yeah, he wouldn't know. He was a gadget. He would get on the internet. In fact, I got packages after he died, things he ordered. He was always on the phone, or he'd order something from Amazon, and I'd have to go return it. I'd say, stop ordering clothes from Amazon. You got to try these things on, especially
Right.
dress shirts.
Right.
You can order a sweater, a sweatshirt, but he was always, well, I ordered this and I ordered that, and then he would always get wrapped up. You order something and it's in the small print. It's a monthly delivery, and they start billing you. So I'd say to him, stop ordering things. All this crap is coming and you don't even use it, and we're paying it. I didn't know it was a monthly sign up. I said, well, read the fine print.
Right. Right.
Friends, the joke with his friends was, Bobby, oh, I like that. I'll take it. And I said, from now it's going to be, I'll think about it. Because he would just say, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it.
That's good. Good question, Mar. Good question. Professor, come on in.
The movie Grease. Did he ever discuss with you how he felt about them naming Rydell High School after him?
He never knew why they did. He said, I don't know why they did it. He said, I didn't know it was going to be named that till the movie came out. They didn't ask his permission. They just did it. I don't know why. It's really strange that they didn't. They could have named it Fabian High. They could have named it a lot of different things, but he never knew why they did. That's the one.
He knew that they named it after him. It wasn't like
that's Teen Angel, right? Frankie plays Teen Angel. Is that
Yes.
Yeah. He never knew why they. Yeah, he never knew why they named it Rydell High. I mean, I've got a pin in the basement. I've got a sweatshirt that says Rydell High down in the basement. It's like all his career stuff is down there.
Okay.
But he told me he never knew why. Which is really weird. You would think they would have just picked a name, a random name, not a real person's name.
Right.
But I don't know who did that.
Good question, Professor. Restful, come on in, babe.
Yes, Linda, what was the greatest lesson you learned from Bobby, either as a partner or as a person?
Good question. Good question.
I would say that, until I got to know him and married him, we all tend to put celebrities like that they're different than us and they're special or whatever. he made me realize that they're not special. They have just the same amount of problems as everybody else. You know, we all have baggage. Depends on what's in the bag, but we all have stuff. And
Yeah.
that, I mean, there were things he regretted about his career, things that he should have done or should have taken done this song or taken that movie role or play role. But he was comfortable with his career. He had said to me, when I would say, Bobby, you really should do this, and he'd say, what? It's going to be a career changer at this point in my life? I'm fine with the way my career is. I like to sing. I'm still singing. That's what makes me happy. I mean, he would say to me, oh, I don't really want to go to that restaurant because they're going to want me to get up and sing. I said, well, just say no. So we'd go to a restaurant and there'd be a singer there, and nobody would ask him to get up and sing. And maybe the singer would start to sing a Sinatra type song. All of a sudden, I'd see Bobby. He'd be pushing his chair away and getting up and heading to the stage. I said, listen, I'm sick of hearing you say you don't want to sing. I said, nobody asked you to sing. You got up and went yourself.
That's the
he
showmanship.
he was very humble. He was a very humble guy. You
Yeah.
never, and you know, when he didn't have his hairpiece on, you wouldn't know who he was. People didn't know who he was because he looked so different. You know, you got the baseball hat with the brim kind of down, and he wasn't dressed up. He always wore jeans and like a windbreaker, and he always had something Eagles on, whether it be the hat or the shirt. And so nobody would know who he was. And he never walked into a place like Mr. Big Shot. Okay. And I've seen some of them, and they act like that.
Yeah,
even to me and Bobby, they would act like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, true enough.
There was a funny story. Bobby had his book signing, and the book party was at Patsy's in New York. And of course, there were a lot of the Italians there that lived in New York. And Jerry was there, and Tony Danza came. And it was up on the second floor of this restaurant. So there's a staircase that wraps around. And I was at the top of the steps greeting people and introducing myself because I never took his name. I was Linda Hoffman. And I'd say, I'm Linda, I'm Bobby's wife. And Tony Danza comes up the stairs, and it was really crowded. So I said, oh, Tony, hi, I'm Bobby's wife, Linda. Come on, I'll take you, because he had to get to the front of the restaurant. And it was crowded. And I turned, I said, wow, you look a lot taller on TV. He goes, boy, you really know how to make friends. I said, well, you do look taller on TV. He's not as tall as he looks, you know.
No, he isn't.
He was kind of, wasn't happy with me because I said what I thought. I'd get in trouble with that.
Yeah. But that's part of this entertainment world. The egos and you know, that's this whole thing. That's this whole thing. And there are some who know how to deal with it and be on the low-key side. There's some who don't. There's some who search out the lights. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Every chance that they get, you know.
When I was in nursing school and X-ray school, you know, you'd have to go work in the OR, and there'd be this surgeon who's like a lunatic throwing shit around and throwing scalpels and stuff, and you'd be a nervous wreck. And I'd say to the instructor, oh my God, and she'd say, Linda, just always remember, they put their pants on the same way you do, and they sit on the toilet the same way you do. So when you start to get nervous, picture that doctor doing that. And
wow.
You know, it brings you down. It makes you realize, wait a minute.
Yes, it does.
They may have a skill, but their life is the same as yours. They have to do the same daily routine.
Yeah. I think I would have stopped at the toilet part, but we okay. We just gonna keep moving. You know what I'm saying? I would have stopped there. Come on in, Drew.
Wildwood, New Jersey. Obviously, the song that he made was legendary. The city, I believe, holds your husband very dear. How often do you go to Wildwood now, and do you talk to any of the people that were instrumental in having him perform there?
I've been in Wildwood more since he died than I was when he was alive. I was never in Wildwood, New Jersey in my life till after we got married.
Wow.
Because I grew up in Scranton. It's a 5-hour drive from Scranton. So if I went to the shore at all, I went to Atlantic City or Beach Haven because it was close. But you know, they're building we have a Bobby Rydell Foundation, and this was not my idea. When he died, he had wanted to be sprinkled in Wildwood. Right now, he's in my closet, but he wanted his ashes sprinkled in Wildwood. So I called.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because when he was a kid, his grandmother had a boarding house at 232 Montgomery Avenue, which is the one that comes right up to the convention center.
Right.
It goes right to the beach. And his grandmother had a boarding house, so he would spend summers there as a child. And then as he got to be a teen and then he got famous, he was working the clubs there.
Right.
So he's really connected to Wildwood. So when he died, I forget who I called. This restaurant owner that I know. And I said, or the mayor, I called the mayor. I said, do you think, I know you can't do it legally, but can I throw Bobby's ashes in the ocean? And then we'll have a memorial service for the public. They won't know that we did that in the morning, me and the family. And he said, let me call you back, Linda. He calls me back. He goes, what do you think of a statue? I said, a statue? And he said, yeah, we'll get a statue built. So the statue it's clay, and right now it's 7 feet tall. It's not bronze yet because we're raising money to pay for it, because that's where Bobby wanted to be, he wanted his ashes dispersed in Wildwood, because
that's interesting. That's very
not
interesting.
because of the song, but because of the family memories and the history.
Okay.
The family.
Okay. Good question.
Do you plan on honoring his wishes?
I'm sorry, what?
I was going to ask, do you still plan to honor his wishes, or is that?
Oh yeah. Right now he's in my closet. When we get the statue built, his ashes will go in the statue.
Okay.
Inside the heart in the statue. Yeah.
Okay.
Right now, when I get angry, I go in the closet and I yell at him. Why didn't you tell me about this? Or why didn't you tell me about that? So he's parked on a shelf in my closet right now. But that's where he will end up. He'll be in the statue.
Okay.
And it's going to be on the corner of Montgomery Avenue and I think it's Ocean. There's a park. Ocean. The convention center is on the beach side, and across is Fox Park.
Right.
And right on the corner, which is Montgomery Avenue, which is the street that he grew up on as a kid.
Okay.
Wow.
Linda, I'm going to ask if you would kindly keep me abreast of that so I can let the rest of the members know, because we'd love to come down for the ceremony if possible, or whatever.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be by 2026. We have a golf tournament coming up. There's going to be a Rydell Festival in Wildwood. There's things coming up that we're planning to, raise. We sell 50-50 tickets, stuff like that.
Okay.
To raise money.
Okay. Who by Linda? Who by chance was the mayor? Was it Ernie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That good guy. Great guy.
And he's on the board of the foundation also.
Ernie is a great guy, and he's one of the best mayors I've ever known. Yep. Good guy. Really good guy.
He grew up in Wildwood, and two of the other people there, that they live in Wildwood. I'm kind of an honorary Wildwood person.
Gotcha.
I go there probably now. I was just there March 30th for a surprise birthday party. Okay. When the first time I went to Wildwood was after we got married. The Golden Boys were performing at the convention center, and it was a real rainy day. It was miserable. And we get to the hotel, and you couldn't see the beach. I mean, it was foggy. So we get in the hotel, took a nap. I get up, I open the drapes. All I see is fog. There's nothing. So then it cleared. We went for lunch. We came back. We got into the room, and I looked. The beach was so far away. I said, "Bobby, you've got to get a cab to get to the water." That's how far away it was.
That's true about Baldwin.
It's really far. But he told me when he was a kid, the beach wasn't that deep when he was a kid.
Okay.
But all the sand comes down and deposits there. But I've never been on the beach in Wildwood. I've never been on the boardwalk. I've been to restaurants. Really? I've been to the convention center. I know the backstage area of the convention center, because Bobby's knees were so bad he couldn't walk on the boardwalk. He could never make that walk to the water because it was too damn far. We'd have to get a wheelchair. Those big bubbles, steel things.
Yeah.
So that's all I know about Wildwood. But I do know a lot of people there because I'm going with Bobby.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Great. DD, come on in, babe.
Now, how proud was he when the street that he was born on was renamed after him, Bobby Rydell Boulevard in South Philly?
The girl who started that, from what I mean, it's just I was not around at that time, but the girl who started that was the other Linda Hoffman, who was the fan club president. And
Okay.
what year? I have a. It was 1995. I have a ceramic thing here. It looks like an envelope, but it says Bobby Rydell Boulevard, and he was really excited. It's just a block or two. It's not the whole street. It was South
Right.
11th Street. But that was a big, it was a big Italian party. They had food in the streets and a parade and everything. I've just seen pictures of it, but he was pretty proud of that. He really, it was like a testimony. It was honoring him. And then, of course, people always say, "Oh, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame," and he'd say, "I don't give a shit." That's what he'd say. "I don't give a shit about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I had my career. It's not going to change my career at this point." And I'm glad Chubby got in, because I'll tell you, Chubby is a good performer. I saw him last September in Wilkes-Barre, and he was going to be 83 in 2 weeks. He did not sit down for an hour and a half. Now, he's not jumping around like he used to, but he's moving back and forth on that stage, twisting, doing the pony. Not as much. I mean, not as exaggerated, but he's still moving, and he deserved to be in there because his music did change the way people danced.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Before
Sure
that,
did.
it was the jitterbug and stuff. His song changed everything. But Bobby was he was really proud of that street, having the street named after him. He
Good
liked
question.
that. I mean, he
Good
would have never
question,
gone
Dee.
after it, but he liked it.
Okay. Good question, Dee. We're gonna go around the room and do our goodbyes and let everybody say whatever it is that they need to say. And Linda, then we're gonna come to you for closing comments. Drew, go ahead if you don't mind, please.
Miss Linda, thank you so very much for sharing these wonderful stories about your late husband. That about the hairpiece, I guess it's out there now, because I never knew that he had a hairpiece, but thanks to you, the world knows now. Okay, so.
And I don't feel bad because he was not one. I mean, he didn't care. So, I mean, if he was real, like, "Oh my God, I don't want anybody to know," I would never say. But he wasn't like that.
Yeah, that's the good thing. He wasn't ashamed, and that says a lot, because some people, when they get thinning hair, that's the first thing they do.
That's. I mean, they're over the
wig or something like that.
No, he could have cared less.
Yes. But thank you so much for sharing those stories, Mrs. Rydell. It's a pleasure meeting you, and we hope to see you in Wildwood when they have the ceremony for him there,
I'll let
the
y'all
statue.
know, because it'll be a big. We were going to have a memorial service and the unveiling of the statue and all that jazz.
Fantastic. We'd love to be there. We'd love to be there. Come on in, Russell.
Yes, Linda, I can't thank you enough for sharing your personal memories, insights, and your life experiences with you and your late husband. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dee.
Miss Linda, it was a pleasure talking to you and all your memories you shared. And you are hilarious, but I had a good time.
People tell me I should write a book. Tell my
Why don't you?
There are so many stories I could go on and on and on. I gave you a few highlights.
Great. Come on in, Lamar.
I thank you, Miss Rydell. You had me in stitches. I just couldn't stop. But it's a pleasure to have met you. As I think about your husband, I go back to the black and white TVs,
Oh yeah.
And I remember watching him on TV. So I enjoyed the stories that you told us tonight. And I just want to let you know that we love you, and you keep on keeping on being yourself, because like Dee said, you are hilarious, It's all laugh. God bless you. Thank you.
I'm glad to see you're doing well post transplant.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Good job. Come on in, Professor.
Miss Linda, I guess all of us know now that you are hilarious. This has been, I think, even going back to when we were the Magnificent Seven, this has to have been one of the funniest
Yeah,
Yes.
shows we've
yeah,
had. I
yeah.
had to go get my tissue. Okay. I mean, I truly have enjoyed this. Thank you for sharing all that you have with us. And please do consider writing the book. Because if these are
Yeah.
just highlights, oh my God, that thing is going to sell. Because I remember I was a little girl and I don't know why I was so taken by all of those beach party movies. And I was really young, really young.
That means
And
you're
I was
younger than
watching
all of us, I guess. You're
I was
young.
watching Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon, like, and I still watch them. Thank God for streaming services. But and I have most of them on the VCR. But
Oh
you
God.
know, I love that stuff. I loved
I
it.
never saw Bye Bye Birdie till after we got married.
There you go.
Oh,
And
wow.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay.
put it in the DVD and we were laying in bed one night. I said, I'm going to watch this movie. And I'm watching the movie and I'm looking at him. I said, what happened? What happened here? I said, you don't move like that anymore because you know the dance moves and anything. And here I'm next to the bald-headed virgin, like the father of the movie. I
That's
said,
why
well,
you need
I
to write
was
that
only
book.
21. I
Yeah.
said, okay.
Oh, man.
That's funny.
Thank
That's
you
My
funny.
again.
pleasure.
Thank you.
That's funny.
It's a funny.
Listen, you guys, let me tell you something. When I reached out to Linda to do the show, she was always agreeable, but she had hesitancy in her voice because she didn't think she could talk for an hour. Can she talk for an hour plus or
Yes.
what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Well,
so,
I told you
It's
like
all
a
good.
couple days ago. I said I don't know that much about his career, like back because I wasn't around
Right.
and I wasn't a fan. Like some people, fans, real fans, they know what each song came out, who played
Right.
on the record,
Right.
who was the
Right.
backup vocals. I don't know anything. I do know
Right.
that Dee Dee Sharp because I know Dee Dee Sharp and her husband.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was some
Okay.
of the backup vocals on Bobby's records.
Right.
He was.
Right.
Oh,
She
Yeah.
was
She
part of
told
the
me. She
Cameo
told me that.
Parkway.
She told me, and she's gonna kill me when I call her and tell her that I had you on because she would have tuned in. You know what I'm saying? I just completely forgot. So many things are going on. But let me take
I
this
like
time to
you.
say, yeah, she's a great person. Let me take this time to say thank you so much for joining us, and please keep me involved in the loop on what's happening with the presentation and what have you, because I'd like to pass it on to the rest of the gang here. And if by chance we can make it, we'll come down and support. Absolutely.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, that'd be great.
Down in Wildwood.
Because we want to have a big deal. Like besides the statue, it'll be his ashes are placed there. It'll be kind of like a memorial service with the statue.
Right. And if you talk to Ernie in the interim, the mayor, tell him I said hello. Tell him I said hello.
I will. In fact, I'll be talking to him. We're having a meeting June 3rd.
Okay. Yeah, he's a great guy. To everybody out there, listen, this has been another version of Music Lovers LTD. Next week at this time, we will be talking to another legend. And I'm including Linda in this because she's a legend she's the wife of a legend. But next week we will be talking to Miss Candy Staten. So tune in next week. We're going to have her on next week. We'll talk about her trip overseas and the award that she got and all kinds of stuff. Candy Staten has always been a sweetheart of mine. So we're going to have her on next week. Wednesday on my TV show, Salt, Pepper, and Memories, we have Mr. Sonova King. Sonova King is the son of Ben E. King. So be sure and tune in and check that out on Philly Cam tonight at 10 o'clock in a few more minutes. If you're not ready to go to sleep, and if you are ready to go to sleep, tune in to WPPM 106.5 FM or phillycam.org/listen. My radio show from 10 until 2 a.m. Great music from days gone by. You guys have a great weekend. All you mothers, male and female, happy Mother's Day to you. Linda, we love you. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
Is there
It was nice
is
to
there a
meet everybody.
is there anything in closing, Linda, that you'd like to say?
No, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep the music alive.
Thank you.
There
Everybody's
you go.
music, not just Bobby.
doing-
I
There
mean,
you
everybody.
go.
We're doing the best we can. Debbie from Connecticut checked in, and everybody else that checked in. Thank you so much again. Happy Mother's Day to all you male and female, everybody. Let me hit the music, and we're going to go out live like we normally do. All right. Take care, Linda. Love you. Good night, everybody.
Nice.
Right. Be safe, y'all.